She trains shooters, runs marketing at Laser Ammo, and isn't shy about telling it like it is. We're talking dry fire tips, dogs and baby carriers, and even the toilet gun. Kristen Wilson Day is on the gun rack. Let's get into it.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of The Gun Rack, SDI's podcast about the firearms industry. I'm your host, Christian Sequeira, event coordinator, Sonoran Desert Institute. I'm here with co-host Steve Ross, director of marketing. Say hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve, and everybody else watching.
How's your week going so far?
A really good week so far. I got back from vacation last week, and when I came back home, I had a really nice surprise waiting in my mailbox. Our friends at Battle Arms Development sent me a new work mat for me to test out. And I sent a couple to like what I call our gunsmith roundtable, our master gunsmiths here at SDI, and having them test it out. I have a sample of it here. This one's different colors, but these are magnets built into this silicone gun mat. Very, very nice. I just want to thank them for sending it over to me to play around with. And also, they just joined our SDI special discounts page for students and graduates. So I want to thank them for that. They have some really nice charging handles, really light firearms, AR platforms, all sorts of products. So if you're a student or graduate and you're watching this, make sure to head over to your resource guide or student center to check them out.
Awesome. It looks cool. And what you showed, if we can get those
It's
branded,
slick.
hot, real hot. So we have a guest today. Our guest is a firearms trainer, marketing pro, and is the face behind some of the most fun and informative dry fire content out there. By day, she is the marketing manager at Laser Ammo. Say hello to Kristen Wilson Day. Woo!
Hey,
Welcome,
guys.
Kristen.
I'll be like Steve. Hi, Kristen.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm down here in Texas dealing with some rain, so I hope everything goes well. But I'm excited to be here and looking forward to chatting with you all.
How long have you been in Texas?
11 very long years.
11 years. All right. Did you move from California like everybody else?
I was born and raised in California and moved
Okay.
to Virginia Beach for about 14 years because I was a military kid. And then my husband moved us down here.
Awesome. Well, as I mentioned in the intro, you've had a really diverse career, marketing, web design, firearms training. Talk to us, what got you into firearms and how did you end up at Laser Ammo?
Well, I really go far back. I wanted to be a cop when I was a kid, so that's kind of how the firearms thing came along. And I knew that in order to be a cop, you have to know about firearms. So I learned how to shoot from the San Diego Police Department. Ironically enough, I took my basic firearms safety class from them with a nice 1911, and just continued to be able to shoot. And I just found that I was naturally good at it, which I have to say, women are pretty good at following instruction, not putting ego in the way, and having good hand-eye coordination, and we typically tend to be really good at firearms. So I continued that, and obviously the law enforcement thing didn't work. So when I moved down to Texas 11 years ago, found out about a ladies group, went to it. There was a shooting ladies group, and heard about competition, and then started shooting pistol competitions, which met somebody, Pat McMahon, who works for Laser Ammo. He's a military law enforcement specialist, and I met he and his wife, and then that's kind of how I got my foot in the door, because my day business is website development and marketing, as you know. And then after the pandemic happened, I started my firearms training business, because women flock to women who know things about things that interest them. They're like, oh, hey, you know how to shoot, you should teach me. And then I turned into a business, and now I have my firearms training business, and then just kind of like propelled with Laser Ammo of just doing more and more. And now about 70% of my day job is working with Laser Ammo, and I just love it. It's a great community. It's a small business, but I mean, it's pretty big for, versus a one-person shop, right? But there's still a pretty small business, but it's just a really good group of people, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, with our student demographic, obviously it's more male dominated right now, but more and more we're seeing more females get into gunsmithing, firearms training, and things like that, which is awesome.
which
Um,
is awesome.
Now your training company is called what?
WTF Kristen. So
That's awesome.
my redirect, my church, I would call it my church version is Women Training Firearms Kristen.com. But it's so much easier. WTF. I usually watch my language when I'm on podcasts, but I'm kind of like an F-bomb mom. I was raised in the Marine Corps, so I probably cuss worse than most guys. I am in the competitive world as far as shooting is concerned, like I explained. So I'm dealing with, I'm like less than 10% female. So speaking back to your original point, you guys are definitely male dominated. But it's nice to see other ladies. And I think when you hear that there are other ladies involved, then it encourages more women to do so. I actually was just at a local match, and one of the guys was saying, "Oh wow, I wish because it started talking to him and stuff, and he was like, wow, like my wife shoots, and she probably would have been more inclined to come had she known that there was another lady there." And so I just always try to push that, bring them, let them come.
Yeah, you're not going to offend us. So if you want to get one in right now, just get out of the way. You go for it. I was going to ask, have you seen, what in your career, have you seen a shift in demographics? More and more women joining this sport.
Yes. So I will say when I first started, I didn't have a lot of ladies in my local group that were actually competition shooters. They may have been more women that shot, but that were not regulars, in competition. So I kind of had to, and I'm an extrovert and I'm 6 foot. So nobody's going to fuck with me anyways. And there's my one. You're welcome. But nobody's going to mess with me. And I'm very outspoken. So I will call people out if they're being lazy and not taping. That's a big thing. When you shoot competition, you go shoot, everybody pace, and then you can sit down. But if you're going to sit down, I say, if you're well enough to shoot, you are well enough to pace. So get your butt up and get down there. But I will have no problem.
Do you see the change as just adding more women to the shooting sports, or is the industry changing to be more welcoming to just new shooters in general?
I will say it's kind of a little bit both. I will say that the shooting community is, I would imagine, just like the military. You're a tight-knit group. I say that the shooting community is very welcoming for the most part. However, I think that some men say things that maybe they didn't intend it to come out that way, and they don't think about how they said it. For example, perfect example, I just did a training tip Tuesday about this. I had a guy who I was at a local competition with, and we shot together. We had a nice conversation. There's, like 10 of us, whatever. We're all cleaning up afterwards, and at the end of it, he goes, "Oh, hey, you actually shoot really good." And I'm like, "Thanks. Not bad for a girl." And I was just like, I said it like that because it's like, dude, did you just hear what you said? Like, would you have said, "Oh, dude, you don't suck"? I mean,
People tell me that all
maybe
the time.
guys would say that, right? But I mean, just like, how do you word things to just kind of, women are a little bit more intimidated anyways, because we're a small demographic. Two, we get intimidated. Women typically get intimidated easily by things that they're uncomfortable with. And we're uncomfortable with it because we don't know all the things. And we want to know all the things, hence why it's great that I have, a firearms training business to help ladies know all the things. But now we're going to go there, and I don't know, you would not believe how many times, like, before guys knew who I was, it's like, "Well, look there, Missy, maybe you should try it this way." And I just smile, "Thank you." And then they see me shoot, and they're like, maybe I should have offered that advice to her, because she doesn't need my advice, because she shot really well and probably kicked his butt. So
what you're saying,
But
I shouldn't be walking through the gym like giving advice to women who are trying to work out? Okay.
Exactly.
Man, I'm just doing that all the time. I thought I was being helpful, so.
But so to answer your original question, Steve, I think that because more women are getting involved in encouraging other women, that's making them feel a little bit more at ease. And two, I think the community is realizing that, we actually know what we're doing, and we're actually pretty good at it, and we're good company, you know? So, meaning like we're a great asset to this organization. And I think other businesses, so like larger businesses, are realizing that women are a very popular demographic. We just don't take up the full market share, but that we should not be dismissed from that market share.
I love seeing our industry, our communities grow, especially when it's first time shooters or they've been shooting for a long time and they just want to get better and they want to get even deeper into this industry. Cause like, man, okay, I'm excited. Like, let's do it.
Yes. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, yes, shooting is fun, but like, what's the other huge benefit? I mean, look at what we're seeing in the world going on right now today. So typically the gender roles were that men went to work or men were the protectors and women took care of the children. Whether they work or not, okay, I'm not, a gender stereotype or whatever, but that was men are our protectors. You're stronger, you have the muscle. That's your, your main asset, right? To protect. But what happens when you go to work or when you're out of town or when you're not at the house? Who is protecting ourselves, us as women, and our children? We are. So, or who's going to the store? Who's doing these certain things that are typical gender roles? Not whether agree or disagree with them. That's just the pure, common thing, right? So, how are we protecting ourselves if we're not comfortable with shooting, right? We need to be more better advocates for ourselves. And you would not believe how many times I've had women come to me and say, oh, I need to train, I need to train, I need to train. Oh, after soccer is over, after school starts, after summer's over, after. And my response is like, let me know when you're important enough for you to learn how to do something to protect yourself and your family. And I try to word it nicely because I'm not trying to, browbeat anybody, but look, your personal safety. I don't know how many times I've gotten a woman who said, oh, hey, this thing just happened. Now I need training. It's like, bitch, you needed training before so that you could help prevent you from that thing happening or be able to protect yourself when that thing happened.
Yep. It's
So,
funny how many people become gun right advocates after they've been attacked.
right?
You should have been one before.
Like,
Reactive
oh, I
over
need to get a
proactive.
gun now. And you're like, you needed one before.
You needed 10 before.
I know,
Head
right?
start.
At least.
Well, and in my experience, they something happens, they buy a gun, and then they don't carry it, they don't train, they don't know how to use it at all, but they have it in their closet, unloaded, and who knows if it works or not.
Absolutely. So I'm a USCCA firearms instructor as well as an NRA one. And one of the programs that they offer through USCCA is the home defense. And it's not just home defense like, or martial arts or anything like that, but it just talks about, safety and how we're so vulnerable in our homes because we have this perceived notion that we're unpenetrable in our homes. And it's like, okay, hello, have you ever heard of a home burglary? So we still have to we're not as aware at home as we are outside. And then going back to your original point too, Christian, about how many people are out there walking around carrying a gun on their hip and maybe practice once or twice. So I mean, like, okay, you're going to use this one tool that's going to save your life once a year to practice. Like, oh, okay, it's in muscle memory right now.
Well, I did watch your Training Tip Tuesday from this week about alternative means of defense as well, which is very informative. So if you're interested in a lot of tips, go to Kristen's YouTube page. I'll post a link in the description
Perfect.
below as well.
Actually, that was an old one, so it must have, because the one I did just Tuesday
Well, maybe that, yeah.
was just the one I was talking about as saying, men, do better. But
Maybe I
ladies,
watched it backwards.
we need to stop letting how men look at us and say like that whole, oh, you're actually good. Let us stop allowing it to bother us because, who freaking cares what they think, We're going to show them, yeah, you have a bad match. Well, everybody's got a bad match, So why are we taking this to heart? We need to stop letting those feelings get in the way of us doing something that, one, could protect us, and two, from having fun, because it's fun.
I talked to a graduate of SDI. She went to the associate's program. She was telling me a story how she's actually working as an armorer in her police department. And her boss, told her to go to SDI, get some additional training. And when she came back, she ran into guys that would kind of, not want to give them their guns because of her being a woman. They just assumed she didn't know anything, but she would still take it and show them up. Basically, that's kind of how she battled it. Like, I don't know if it's just a woman thing or just someone, wanting to assume, but her way to fight back at it was, yep, just give it to me. I'll take care of it. And then she would impress them by the work that she did.
Right, which is sad that you automatically have to work harder to show somebody that you belong here. However, you can't change certain stereotypes or, negative stigmatas, so to speak. So just, you got to roll with it. We got to stop letting it bother us until, it proves it. So,
yeah. And it's a little bit of the male ego kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
So. Which I have no clue about at all. I'm the most humblest person there ever was. You can ask anybody. So.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why when I focus on women to train, because it's like, yes, I can train men, but you got to get your freaking ego out of the way, and accept the change. Like, yeah, racking the slide. If you're going to do the 2 fingers out front, is that possible? Sure it is. But, the reason why I train, the vice grip, pushing through this way is because you have more hands on a gun. And, it's hot in Texas. Okay, 110, 100% humidity, my hand's going to slip. What happens if you jack up your finger or your thumb? Now you've got muscle memory that I can only do it this way. So it just kind of puts things in using our strengths better and doing things that make the most sense where we are stronger, whether you have the strength or not.
Well, with all the training that you've done and all the competing you've done, how do you incorporate dry fire practice within what you do in your normal life?
Well, actually, I use the dry fire training a lot. So laser ammo's dry fire training a lot more with my firearms training, because I find it helps bridge the gap for ladies to get into the range and feel more confident. And how often, again, time, right? Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day, but the number one, issue is like, I don't have time. And it's kind of like, okay, well, you have time if you want to have time. So, but let's just say this way, if you throw a laser and you quite honestly, you can dry fire at home and you don't need any tools. But I'll tell you, if I were to talk to the typical woman who has, a gun but doesn't practice, and if I were to say, hey, why don't you dry fire this at home, do X, Y, Z, and they're going to look at you like, what? I'm not pulling the gun out in the house. I don't know to do that. I don't want to blah, 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 because they don't know all of the things. So when I train, I do a lot of one-on-ones. We go through all the things. I talk about the components of a firearm, the travel of the bullet, different bullet types, how to manually load the magazines, because a lot of ladies are, oh, my husband does that, or my husband does that, or whatever. And then we get to dry fire, and they're racking the slide. They're seeing the different sights. They're seeing the different triggers. They're learning all those things. But now we just went through all the safety components of why we're pointing the gun in this direction, what to do, how to clear it, all those things. So now they're like, oh, well, we did this in Kristen's house. I am already thinking of where I can do this in my house. And then the next time we go to the range. So we haven't even gone to the range. There's no bang. There's no anxiety, blah, blah, blah.
So, Krista, if I'm someone, I own a few firearms, let's say specifically handguns, I go to the range on a regular basis, but I've never done any type of dry fire training. Where should I start, or where would you recommend someone to go start with laser ammo?
So quite honestly, like I said, you don't need anything to dry fire. You can just dry fire without anything. But the cool thing about laser ammo is with the Sure Strike laser, you drop the laser into your barrel, and it now gives you, like, did you hit something? Unless you want to sit there and look at the wall or the light switch, you have to look at the wall to see the laser. So then you would use one of our targets. So we offer 2 different kinds of electronic targets. That's the IMTTS, so it's Interactive Multi-Target Training System, and then the laser pet. And it's 2 different laser targets. Now you can hear it and you can see the flash that you're actually hitting the target. So that is the basic, use your own firearm, rack the slide after every shot, basics. The next one is you're like, I don't want those scars of, racking the slide after each time, which I agree that there is some part of that, but the more you practice in all of the things, not just rack the slide, dry fire, that's all you're doing. If you actually put into live fire, you're going to notice that you don't rack the slide when you go to the range, right? So the Sure Strike mag, which is our marriage between Dry Fire Mag and us, our laser, and their smart magazine, which you guys have had them on the show previously. So that would be the next step up, would be using the Dry Fire Mag and the our laser, which we call it the Sure Strike Mag, would be the next level up to use your Glock, your SIG, and now you can still pull the trigger continuously, but you don't have to rack the slide each time, and it pairs well with, of course, our interactive targets, and then the smokeless range, which would be our next level up. And the smokeless range is basically a home simulator. Set it up in a room, living room, but you just need to watch the light. And then now you can go to have, you know, a heyday with recoil guns, recoil rifles. We also have a drop-in bolt replacement carrier group for the flash bolt. And so all the things, they all work really well together. So, I mean, you can go from the basics to the full Monty.
Yeah. Those simulators are so cool. So your smokeless range, are you seeing more and more people starting to adopt that actually at home, not in a classroom? They're just taking it for their private house.
So we have some, you know, of course, quite a few that have things for their own house. I mean, there's people that have, there's actually one guy that's on the other side of Houston who has, you know, like the axe throwing. He's actually set up lanes with the smokeless range, so now people can practice shooting in his in his lanes for the smokeless range. We have people who have golf simulators because, you know, you've already got half the equipment, because you know you need a wall or a space or a screen and a projector, because those are, you know, the projector is probably going to be the next most expensive thing. Actually, it's probably almost just as expensive as our simulator itself is having the projector. That's a quality projector. And then the space. So you've already got that. Now it's like, okay, now you just need the software and then, you know, whatever guns you want to use or laser components to make it work, to have fun. So we have a lot of dealers. Dealers will resell. Military use it a lot. I would still think we do have a lot of home users, because remember, we have firearms trainers that may be onesie twosies like me, and we also have competitive shooters who also want to improve and don't want to spend, you know, countless hours at the range throwing 1,000 rounds that you can't move, you can't draw, you can't walk up range, you can't walk down range. So now you can kind of incorporate those into, depending on what kind of space you have in your house.
What's the most fun you've had with, because you guys do have all the things, like literally all the things. If you can think of any sort of fun targets you can set up around your house, outside your house, you know, you have it. What are some fun setups you've done in the past, either at your home or somewhere else?
So I love the smokeless range. It stays up in a spare bedroom. That's the cool thing about becoming an empty nester, is now you have these bedrooms that get reconverted back to your hobby rooms, right? So I have a smokeless range in there. One of the holiday downloads software is the Pumpkin Hunter. And then we have a Zombie Hunter. And both of those have been really pretty popular. And even my firearms training students find those to be really enjoyable. And then I would just say the IMTTS targets, because now you can room clear. So there's no rule that says they have to be, you know, lined up in a row. You can set one down the hallway, you know, one in the entryway, and then you can now room clear your house. You set up the time on the controller, and you can just kind of set that up and go around your house and shoot. We also have CQB targets, so it's basically the humanoid targets that are running off the same concept as the IMTTS, but those are a higher price point. It's set up for military and law enforcement teams. However, if you really have money to spend, you could always go that route, because of course we also have the shot body system, which is like laser tag for adults, but again, it's a price point for military and law enforcement. You know, take the take the lasers and put them on your vest or your hat. And
Man,
they have
I didn't
different
even
colors.
see that. That sounds awesome.
Look under tactical training, because we also have the gunshot box, which probably, I don't know if Dry Fire Mag mentioned that, because I know they have our smokeless range as well, but there's the gunshot box. So now for law enforcement teams, you can throw this gunshot box in there, and now you're hearing gunshot, you know, gunfire as you're clearing a room or doing, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, those are our three higher end, more tactical products meant for law enforcement and military. But if you have the money to spend, hey, that might be something.
Why not?
Military
Right?
budget. Let's go.
Yeah, right. It's
Well,
like laser
so-
tag for more fun and, you know, more adult and tactically because there's one of the settings that you can, when you hit it, it can cause you have to render aid. So, now you got to put on a tourniquet, or you got like 90 seconds in order to be able to re-engage, is now you have to do this thing. So,
For those who are new to the brand, can you explain how the laser ammo system works? So, you load up the Sure Strike laser, and then now what? How does it interact with the target and all that kind of stuff?
So we have, I think like 13 different patents. So we've been around since 2009. It started out in Israel, and then it came to the United States. So we have lots of patents on our lasers. So a lot of companies are infringing on our patents. But so basically you just drop it in. It's like, there's tons of different types out there that people will use for, sighting their rifles, or, their optics or whatever. Ours do that as well. We do have a back cap that allows you can use it for dry fire, you can use it for sighting in. So, but that's technically all you really need. We do have, we call it the Secure, UHR, because it's the last name of the owners.
Okay.
That allows you to put this safety pipe in through the barrel, and then a safety nut on the outside of orange. So let's say you're in a group of people and you're doing some dry fire training, and you just kind of want to put people more at ease. Now you have this orange tip on the end that just kind of says, hey, our barrel's clear, because it's the barrel rod attaches to the front of the laser, which attaches to the safety nut. So that's also giving a person, if they need also that extra sense of like, this is the gun that has a laser, this is not, then, you really need to go through the checks anyway, let's be honest. But this is an additional level of safety, visual safety.
Is that a common problem you guys discovered through the training? Like, people just would instinctually almost cringe at getting a gun pointed at them?
Well, I will say, as you know, I do firearms training. I will never point a gun at anybody. I also don't do more man on man kind of stuff. So I don't do that. So there's no need for me to. But I always train the ladies, just because they need that extra stuff, is I'm going to be over the top on safety. But going to like NRA and SHOT Show, you're in a small booth, and so here's, people are holding guns, and it's kind of like you still are looking, you're like, okay, let me go under, it's like, I'm still not comfortable. I know that all these guns have been cleared. It's been cleared by the event, but.
And there's nothing wrong with it. That's an incredibly safe habit to have. Like, even though I've checked it 100 times, I'm going to check it one more. Like, I have to.
I'm still not going to do one of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the videos I
don't
watch
think
on
you should ever have
YouTube.
to say sorry for, hey, I want to check that gun. Like, I used to be a hunting guide, and no matter what, like, before we'd get in and out of the trucks or do anything, I know we checked it. Excuse me, I'm going to check it one more time before we get back on this truck.
I'm glad you said that, Steve, because I'll tell ladies the same thing. I said, this is how we clear a firearm. If you're, we go through the process, and then this is how you close it, clear it to put it away. But then when you pull it out again, you're checking it again. But I tell them, if somebody hands you a firearm, you now have total control of this. This is now your possession. You are now responsible for this. Please make yourself comfortable by double checking it yourself, and don't feel offended, or don't let, nobody's going to feel offended that if you say, oh, hey, I just want to feel comfortable with this. I just want to check it myself, and I use those words. I said, hey, I just want to double check this myself. You don't need to say sorry, but, or do you mind if. It's like, I'm going to check this because now I'm in control of this firearm.
But I've been at different ranges where they have different rules, and some they want a bolt open, some they want a chamber flag in there as you're walking around. And I know, like, I've been checked before, because I've at a new range, and they say, hey, we do that open. You need to do this. And you say, okay, thanks. No problem. They make a big deal out of it.
Right.
Awesome.
Right.
I didn't know. Thanks for reminding me.
Yep.
And then go on, be safe.
I just prefer a gun in a bag anyways. I tell the ladies, I don't come in here bringing a gun in your purse. I want it in a bag. I want it in a bag all by itself, and each gun should have its own one. Now I know, because how do guns sit in a bag together is this way. Well, it's like, how are you going to get them this way? You're running out of room. So I said a bag of gun, and not only that, but it helps protect your finish for your firearms by keeping them separate. And now I know that because we open things like open a book, because I try to use this kind of knowledge with them as so that things make sense. How do you open a book? You open a book, like this. And then so that means that if you have a little sticker or patch on the top, that this gun, no matter which way you turn it, that when you're ready to open it, that it's not pointed towards you. So just creating these habits that just makes sense.
Word of advice, don't walk into their gun shop saying, my gun's not working. Yeah.
I know, right?
Be
Actually, I
mindful.
did walk into a range. I was behind a guy, and I basically slowed down, but he was walking. It was a gun that was locked to the rear, and he's just walking it, and I'm thinking, first of all, you're pointing this thing at your, like, why couldn't you bag it? I mean, I understand if something's stuck, but couldn't you just bag it and go, hey, look, I've got this firearm, something's stuck. Can you help me, gunsmith guy? Take it to the counter. Here, help me, instead of walking in with this freaking gun locked to the rear. I don't care if it's locked to the rear. What were the 4 safety rules? Never point your gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. Treat all guns as they're loaded. Like, kills me. And you don't think the gun ranges are any safer. It's like you have to be more vigilant, because that just means there's more people that probably shouldn't be having a firearm, or that don't have the knowledge, because we've already discussed that not everybody that carries practices. Hello.
Yeah. That's why I stay away from indoor ranges as much as I can. So.
Well, outdoor ones are just as bad, because now it's like it's not clear what is your down range. It's like I go to an outdoor range. I have a member of one, and I was in my area, and we're doing all the safe things. We have everything bagged. We take it up to the table, blah blah blah. And I saw some guy at a range bay 2 lanes over. He's walking around with this gun. I'm just like, you are the reason. You are. Oh, Lord.
Well, you're the reason why you're here, or they're the reason why you're here.
Thank you for giving me business. You need help, sir.
You should just hand out cards, or put a sticker on their range bag or whatever, or their gun.
Yeah, that's a
Say,
good
hey,
idea.
before you shoot this next, call me for some training. You need it.
Yeah.
And then put it like in crayon.
Yeah. Oh, I know, right? Don't eat them.
Yes.
That match that I just went to last weekend, I gave out 2 cards to those 2 of the guys that were on my squad, so that because they're like, I don't want to train them. Hey, let me save you an argument with your significant other. I will train her. And then I said, hey, plus win-win for you guys. That just means if your wives are coming with you to these matches, that means you might have more opportunity to go to more matches. And more guns. We need to buy another gun, honey.
I tell my wife that all the time. I'm like, I think you need to upgrade your nightstand rifle. So, like,
Honey, we need a new shower gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need a shower gun.
Toilet gun.
Right.
You never know when evil's going to occur. So, you need to be prepared.
What part of the room am I going to be in? And guys need toilet guns, right? Because you guys are always on the freaking toilet, right?
Oh,
Forever?
no, I don't want to admit it, but it's something I have. So, because I like to light some candles, turn on some Barry Manilow, just
started.
Really...
You started Christian off on this topic.
Anyway, squatty potty, bidet, all that stuff. So, but we won't talk about that anymore.
Feeling you were the one that needed a squatty potty, because I'm just seeing that you look a little short.
Yeah, I'm very petite. I'm sitting on 2 stools right now, so with a booster. But what you can't see, you don't know about. It's all right.
Right. Don't want to.
Anyway, so you are the marketing manager for Laser Ammo. Take us through what you do. What's your biggest focus throughout your week, at shows?
So I'm actually the recipient of the fire hose from, the people at Laser Ammo. So it's like, oh, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. So I kind of, being a small company, I do a lot of different things. The email marketing, the updates to the website. I do, the help plan with the agency. We work with an agency to do like graphics and design and stuff like that. I do the social media posting. I talk to all the people on social media. We have a firearms affiliate program, so I work with the firearms affiliates. I do influencers, so I work with all the influencers, and the list goes on and on and on.
Welcome to the gun industry marketing world. You get to do the job of 10 people for the price of 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and you do it great for a lady. So,
Poor girl.
Now, what do you think is the toughest aspect of your job with all the jobs that you're doing?
Probably managing that. And I think a lot of people just don't, they're not, I'm a military kid, and that doesn't mean that just because of that I'm a super organized person, but I am a disgustingly organized person. And so like I have checklists and things, and it's kind of like, all right, we need to put this on the website. Like, let's say we put a new gun on the website. We have the USP, the H&K USP series come out, and it's not just a matter of putting the one gun on there, but then we have the infrared version and the red version. And then it's not just that, but then we have the conversion kits that we need to put on there. And it's not just that, but then we need to have the barrels. Well, it's not just that, because now I need the dimensions for all those things. I need the pictures for all those things. I need the SKUs for all those things. And all those things come from different people. And it's just, hello, I still need this. That's the hardest thing, herding cats,
Yeah.
Again, to Steve, your point, welcome to the industry.
Come join this world. It's great. And then you probably have customers that are, demanding, why don't you have my gun available yet?
Well, and being a Smith & Wesson shooter, we don't have those in recoil guns. And actually, I harass Matt on a regular basis about like, hey, what's the next model coming out? We were actually chatting last night on Instagram because one of the customers commented on our post saying, "Hey, what are you gonna have this model?" And I said, "I have no idea. We're at the mercy of Dry Fire Mag, but I will let them know." So I screenshot it, send him an Instagram message saying, "Hey, Matt, this is the comment." He goes, "We have no desires doing that right now." I'm like, "What are you doing? Are you watching TV and scrolling social just like me?" And he goes, "Nope, I'm building P365s. And I said, "Hey, can you tell me that you're building M&Ps instead?" So, I have the same problem. We don't have the gun stuff for what I want, but I wish we did.
How do you handle the social media trolls? Do you guys get trolled a lot?
We really don't. I think maybe we're just not big enough. There's a competitor of ours that's pretty big. They have a large following. However, I see some of their posts and they don't respond to anything. So I will say one of our most recent ads is a nice video that basically starts off, "Do you own a firearm? Do you, dry fire, blah, blah, blah," and goes on. Well, people hear the "Do you own a firearm?" and the responses are, "No, none of your business. Don't, blah, blah, blah." And then, I lost him in a boating accident. So I was just like, I'm just going to have fun with it, or I don't need to practice. I'm a veteran and this, that, and the other. And, I shoot, don't ask questions. And so I just started replying to those and just kind of have a little fun. Great for you. I'm glad that you don't need to practice. I hope that, or somebody's like, "No." And I'm kind of like, "No to what?" I'm just wondering because, this was a 15-20-second video. So I say,
Right.
"Oh, did you lose yours in a boating accident too? Oh, we should have this big funeral." And so
We get those comments too, where it's like, "No, guns are evil. I hate guns." I'm like, how did you even end up here? Like, sir, this is a Wendy's. Like, go away. Like,
well, I have had a few, very few, because, when you deal with running ads on Meta, they are going to hit the wrong person every once in a while. And somebody has responded and I was like, "I'm sorry to hear that. But hey, thank you for commenting to bump our ad," So
do you have much issue or get shut down on Meta? Do they sometimes mistake you as selling firearms?
We have more problems with Google than we do with Meta. But so far, a lot of our videos, because there are companies out there that run them, and I'm like, how the hell are they getting some of these through? But we aren't on Meta. And so I think that the key is running the ads where the guns aren't present in the beginning, and they might be present later on. Or we've done some ads that are more cartoony, so that they're less, graphic or mean and hateful and, all those. And then we try to use the verbiage in it to where it's not like, "Train for your next kill," to protect yourself, be safe, and, safe. Everything's about safety. So more of that kind of thing. And I think so far we've managed to do all right. But Google hates us.
Do you do separate, like regular civilian consumer marketing as opposed to military law enforcement marketing, or is it all kind of
Well,
tied into one?
Well, we do most all of it kind of, but we do have separate ones where some that are geared more to firearms trainers, some are geared more to competitive shooters. But there's there's crossover in pretty much everything, right? You've got a military guy who might be a firearms trainer or was previously in the military and now is a firearms trainer. And all these people that do all these things, they probably carry it home, so they're your EDC as well. So I think this market is a really good crossover for a lot of different things. Like I tell ladies too that, hey, I know competition might not be your focus or your goal. Like you're not trying to win wood, but hey, this is a great practice for what you can do when you're put on pressure. Because you go to the range and you pick up a gun, you're like pew pew pew, whatever. There's no pressure, there's no timer. It's the test anxiety thing. So now you get your load and make ready, and now you have this whole stage plan that now you have to remember on the clock. And if you throw extra rounds because you missed a steal or you like accidentally shot too soon, or you think that you didn't hit the alpha zone, now you're throwing extra rounds, but your stage plan was to reload in this second position. Well, you threw extra, now you got to reload on the clock. Or if you drop the magazine, or you accidentally hit the mag release, or, like all these things happen, you have to do on the clock and quickly and accurately. So I think it really you realize how much you put into muscle memory now when you're in competition, even if competing is not your goal. I love it. Are you guys going to talk
Do
at
you,
all? We're going to
do
be
you have, is that why with maybe the simulation do you need to almost set up in home having some stressors to mimic that competition stress?
So we also have to push ourselves, right? So we have a software that times your stuff that gives you a par time. Our laser pet and our IMTTS targets both will calculate your splits and your transitions, your draw time, all that. So you can work on, being timed. You can work on a par time, which basically means is you're having to do something in a allotted amount of time, and then it'll beep. So, I mean, putting yourself on that pressure, but then this is all dry fire. So like, are you hitting the targets as fast? Are you lying to yourself? Are you saying you're hitting it, but you're not? How close is the laser? But mind you, all of those targets, they're really small. So we're dealing with like, I think our largest target is probably what does it say, like a 5-inch circle? So you're hitting a 5-inch circle, but when you go to a silhouette target, I mean, even Christian is as tiny as he is, his his silhouette's still bigger than a 5-inch target. So,
Thank you.
then, yeah, you're welcome. But also, maybe it's just your head, right?
He
So
is bigger than 5 inches.
Yes.
I can confirm.
Yeah.
But that's another thing to think about too. When you go to the range and you're practicing, you're obviously shooting at the X or the bullseye, depending on the shape of the target. But I'll say, ladies, we're perfectionists, and we need to get out of that too. That you don't need to be perfect for every single shot, because again, taking Christian, he's this wide. Here's your X in the center. You don't need to be a perfect hit in order to cause damage, right? Why are you laughing? I
Man,
mean,
wait till we actually meet. I am ginormous. So, I'm about 6'8",
Sure you.
350. My legs don't swing on the toilet at all.
Big
So,
feet.
Andre the Giant.
yeah,
Are you guys going to SHOT Show this year?
Definitely.
Next year?
always. Yeah, I don't know if you know, Kristen, but we are a pretty big deal.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you don't say so yourself.
Yes.
Christian, if
Exactly.
you have to say it, you're
No,
not.
but I have heard of you guys before. I just didn't spend the time to dig into it. But yeah, until
No, I think before our call or before our podcast started, I kind of mentioned like we're in the same industry of that education and training space. But like I said, we teach the gunsmithing how to fix the gun side. You're on the other end of the firearm.
Yep.
Training how to shoot properly and how to that self-defense aspect to it as well. Where I think you need to know both.
Absolutely.
What would you say to our students about what they need to know about dry fire training and home training and training outside of just knowing how your firearm operates?
Well, I think it's just essential to improve our skills. We can't improve our skills if we don't practice. So, and people have the excuse of time. So, what's one way to help alleviate that time excuse is the fact that you can do it at home. So, you don't have to pay a range fee, you don't have to drive to, you don't have to drive from, you don't have to be within the hours of said range, and you don't have to spend money on ammo. So, now we have no excuse on why we can't do it. And to do it, now we're also not, just kind of like what I always refer back to how I talk to the ladies. It's like knowing, touching your firearm, getting comfortable with it allows us to be better with it. And just like you're not going to break down a firearm once and then you'd be like, oh, armor. You have to get deep into it, and you have to do it multiple times in order to do it well. Why? Because practice makes perfect, or at least, understanding it better and better. So how are you going to shoot better? You have to shoot better by practicing. And this is one great way to practice, and feeling comfortable with your firearm of, how the trigger resets and, your sights, and maybe you don't like your sights, and changing out your sights. And hey, by the way, you guys know how to do that. Just different things that you can change out now that you're more comfortable with your firearm and you have the skills to break it down and take everything apart and put new parts in. Now you have that ability to customize a firearm that's perfect for you.
Yeah, they really do go hand in hand. You have to be better at one to get better at the other. If you want to be a better shooter, you better know how your firearm works. If you want to be able to work on a firearm and maybe customize it to someone who's shooting, you need to understand how they're shooting. So knowing both sides of it is very important.
Yeah, I mean, I've replaced not me personally, I have, my husband has replaced every trigger, because once you change one trigger and then you go back to another gun, so my M&Ps are, what, 5.5-pound trigger, and that's what I shot competition is, and then when I bought 40, I'm thinking, same gun, same, kind of concept, which it was, but I still had that heavier trigger, and now I start slapping it. So it's just, okay, note to self, need to change out on my triggers so they're all similar, so I don't make these bad, habits, create these new bad habits. So now I changed all of those, and then, learning which sights I liked better. And then as we age, those things change too, because, we get freaking old and our eyes change. So then there's that. And then, just grip it, stuff like that. But I try to show ladies a couple of different types of guns, and then I point out, notice how this sight is different. Notice how this trigger is different. Notice how much hand you have on this gun versus this gun. These are things that when you go to the gun shows, you just pick it up. It's like, how does that feel? This feels good. This feels good. This feels good. Well, you don't know how it recoils in your hand, right? And you really don't know how all those things come into play unless you actually shoot it. So yeah, it may feel good, but then once all those things happen, you're like, now it doesn't feel good, because maybe the recoil causes something to pinch on your hand, where the magazine meets the grip, the rest of the grip. So there's just lots of different things that I try to say, hey, most women don't want to have to make the changes. So okay, let's just get the best starting gun for you by getting one that meets most of the needs for right now. And then now you can customize it by going to a gunsmith or learning it for yourself.
Could have said it better myself. Christian, are you wanting to go into our quick fire round?
I am. I was gonna go. The last question before quick fires. I was gonna just ask, what's next for laser ammo? What's next for WTF, Kristen?
Oh, well, what's next for laser ammo is we just launched the new 2011 that was just put out this year, and then now the new H&K, which actually came more from our European market because we are worldwide. So now that one's our newest one. We also have a new software. So the Competitive Shooter Pro is one of our latest softwares, but now we're going to do something similar to that for military and law enforcement so they can do more room clearing. So that is a newer one, but we're still in the works. But as you know, with any kind of technology, things take a long time to create. And then I happen to be the beta tester for the Comp Shooter Pro, and I broke it a lot of times. So now you've got to test those things to make sure, you get all the bugs out. WTF, actually, I'm talking to a local sheriff's department because I'm very politically involved as well, which I think we all should be some sort, whichever side of the aisle you are, hopefully. you're more politically involved, and getting to know your local representatives. I know the sheriff in our local area, and I've talked to their training department, and I am looking at getting into their training department to help their ladies be more comfortable, or men, but mostly the ladies, be more comfortable with the firearms because their training person is a male. And so if we can get the ladies who are in the fire or the sheriff's department to feel more confident in their firearms, so they will practice more on their own and maybe dry fire with laser ammo, that now they're more confident, and then they'll do better in the field, which is ultimately what we want them to do. Because that's another demographic that probably doesn't practice as much as they should. Law enforcement.
Yes.
I mean,
I've
how many
seen
times
some
do they have to
videos.
qualify? Once or twice a year? How often do they qualify? Once or twice a year? So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I've seen some videos. Some people might need some help.
Yeah. Anyway, all right.
Don't
So
show anybody else.
quick fires. Are you
Oh,
ready for
good.
these quick fire questions?
I'm so nervous. Test anxiety.
All right. Oh, they're not a big deal. They're just some dumb stuff I write on a card. So anyway, question
can
number
read?
1, red dots or iron sights?
Iron sights.
What is your EDC?
It is a Smith & Wesson Shield, 9mm. I
know.
have the whole family, all the Smith & Wesson family.
Yeah. Do you have the stickers on the back of your truck as well? with the
No,
family?
because I tell my ladies,
Yeah.
don't put that stuff on your vehicle, because
There's
now
no one.
you're just telling people who has the guns and who to follow home.
Smart.
Put them on the front of your vehicle.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just run over them.
Yeah. I tattoo it on my back.
I just wave it out the window.
That way they know. What is one word your friends would use to describe you?
Well, how about 3 letters?
We know.
Got it.
Yeah, I am a kind of a cussing person, but I'm an extrovert, 100% extrovert. So that's pretty clear. There's a lot of words, but yeah,
A lot of words. Okay.
there's a lot of words.
What's more stressful? Competing or Saturday at the expo hall?
At the what? The
At
expo
a
hall?
convention,
Trade show.
like NRA or SHOT Show.
Did you just hear me that I'm an extrovert? So I actually enjoy talking all day. I don't
She
mind
looks
being,
forward
I don't
to it.
like
Ugh.
being on my feet all day.
It's so many people.
I don't mind the people. It's a long day because you're getting up early and stuff like that. So I don't find
Drinking all night, bar fights.
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the polls and everything. Yeah, I don't find either one very
I think
stressful.
you two would be best friends at shows. actually.
Honestly, we would
Joe,
probably
we're best
party it
friends
up.
now.
Yeah, exactly. After this 1 hour,
She's
it's me
only
and Kristen,
insulted you
and we
like
have similar
4 or 5
names.
times now.
What's that? Yes. Can't forget our names. Just kind of say it like mumbled, and it's like, what? We
Huh?
both turned. Like, Trisha, what?
Well, so side story, I did have a girlfriend in my past. I am 5'3", so I am a very petite gentleman. However, in my past, I did have a 6'1" girlfriend for throughout most of college, which was funny because she would carry me in a baby Bjorn. When we would go out to eat, I'd be like, "What's going on, babe? Where do you want to go?" It just made it easier. So maybe we
Now
can do
Christian
that at the
makes
next
me
show.
do it when we go to trade
Yeah,
shows. I have to wear the
exactly.
baby Bjorn.
I hate walking. You can ask anybody. I hate walking. So
I saw at NRA a dog like a baby carrier, but it was a dog and I'm like on person. Like I
Yeah.
was like, I haven't really seen those before, but it
Was
looked
that
like
you said a SHOT show or NRA show?
It was the NRA show.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would
Now,
expect
if I get a Frenchie, my next it's either a big Cane Corso or a small French Bulldog. If I get a Frenchie, it's gonna be on my chest if it's not walking. So
Hilarious.
it's hot here in Phoenix. I can't have its little tootsies, burning on the ground. You got to have an option. So
You gotta get those little baby booties.
exactly, yeah, we do that too. So
Goodness.
okay, this is an important one. What's the most important lesson you teach to new shooters?
Safety, 100%. Over the top. Create safe habits. Repetition. I think if we can feel, even if we do everything wrong as far as like shooting or dry fire, as long as we're safe, it really doesn't matter. Same thing with competition. We tell new competition shooters, we don't care how slow you are, we don't care how accurate you are, just as long as you're safe. And if you put safe habits into your routine for everything that you do, then the chance of accidents, because accidents aren't really accidents, it's, improper handling. So those are choices we make, to be safe or not. So safety.
Well,
100%.
that's the quick fires. But
Dang, that was easy.
right,
You're not
tell
too
us
hard.
where our viewers, listeners can find you. I know you have a ton of different sites and everything, ways to reach you.
Well, we have, of course, laser ammo, laserammo.com. We have all of our social is on that website. We have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. I do not breach over to TikTok because I'm still anti that. And then, of course, my personal ones, Kristen Wilson Day on Facebook, WTF Kristen. I have a private Facebook group for ladies. You can find pretty much most of my socials if you do WTF Kristen, and that's Kristen because I'm a 10. And you can find me there on social. Yeah. So I'm the one behind all the laser ammo socials. So even if you get to laser ammo social, you'll find me anyways. So happy to help.
If you are, whether you're a male or a female, but especially if you're a female, just learning how to get comfortable in the firearms world, follow her. Kristen has a ton of different tips. I was scrolling through her YouTube. She got a new subscriber, so let's add more subscribers, and not just subscribers, but more well-trained people out there. Definitely new shooters, new firearms owners, because don't just buy a gun, put it in your closet, or just carry it in
Learn
the
how to shoot
waistband
first.
of your gym shorts,
Oh my goodness.
So
Yoga pants. Yoga pants. I've had that where it's like, well, I can't put these in my yoga pants, and so I have to carry it this way. And I'm like, okay, what would you rather be, comfortable or safe? You have to make these choices, right? Like carrying a gun, it could be hot. Hello, you guys get hot out there. We get humid. So yeah, but it's like a choice. I choose to be safe. I choose to be alive, or do I choose to be cooler? So yeah, you can pick and choose for ladies, we have different clothing that we, can wear where it's a little bit easier for guys to conceal, but we have to be a little bit, we don't have to. We choose to be choosier with our clothes to be cute and all this. You could still wear cute clothes and carry a firearm on your person.
See, Christian,
Trust me, I
you can
know.
be cute and armed.
Yes. Stop wearing those cute little spaghetti tops, Christian.
Well, it's the Daisy Dukes that print pretty
Oh,
pretty
Lord.
badly.
I don't want to know
Every
what they're
time.
printing either, sir.
Hello. Anyway, thank you, Kristen, for being on
my
the gun
God.
rack. If you want more information about our firearms programs here at SDI, go to sdi.edu today. Hit request information, talk to an admissions rep, check out all of Kristen's socials and laserammo.com. From Steve, Christian, thank you again, Kristen. But that's been the gun rack. Everybody wave bye.
Bye.
Bye.